Welcome back, everyone. We are here for our Lost Caverns of Ixalan limited set review. If you missed it, we already did our introduction to the caverns, and you guys can check that out where we go over new and returning mechanics, we go over draftable archetypes, and all the general information you guys need to know before you go to your pre-releases or start drafting this on Arena. So we've got Yanks on the call. Today, we're going to be doing our first color. We're going to be looking at all of the white cards, giving them a rating between 1 and 5 based on their playability in an average deck. Welcome back, Yanks.
Good to be back to dive into the Lost Caverns.
Starting us off, we've got Abelos, I still can't say it, Abelos Awakening, an X3 and a white for a sorcery. Return target artifact or non-aura enchantment from your graveyard to the battlefield with X additional +1/+1 counters on it. It is a 1/1 spirit with flying in addition to other creature types. Wait a minute. Quintorius makes non-flying spirits. Now he makes flying spirits? When did he learn this?
I guess when he becomes a planeswalker, he learns how to make things fly.
Okay, so I do like this for the ability to sacrifice artifacts, right? To help with your craft mechanics, and then you can get those back, reuse them, so on and so forth. That seems pretty nifty.
It's good at helping to fuel craft. It doesn't help you get anything back because everything that you have to spend to craft gets exiled. But it's still like a 4 mana. If you had a white deck that cares about artifacts, which we know white-blue does, it's still 4 mana just sort of reanimate on an artifact creature, or it could just be any artifact that you turn into a 1/1 plus more. If you've got a bunch of mana, you can just turn it into a 6 or 7, 6, 6, 7, 7.
Well, so you were mentioning they get exiled, but some of the things that you crafted with or whatever were artifacts themselves, and they die naturally or get removed, and you can re-bring those back, and those can be crafted or recraft. So, like, just having excess artifact bring back seems really good. I don't know how many enchantments that are not auras will want to be playing. Most sets, that answer is not very high. But enchantments have been making quite a comeback in the last few sets, so maybe it will be good.
Yeah, they're probably, you'll probably have a couple, but it's, really it's artifacts what you're looking at here.
Yeah. And it needs to be valuable if you're not putting additional +1/+1 counters on it. This is just 4 mana for the straight up enchantment. It becomes a 1/1 flyer, and then any additional excess mana. But that's a pretty hefty cost, right? For 2 +1/+1 counters, you're paying 6.
Yeah.
So you're going to need some synergy for this card, but I do feel like it's a bit of a haymaker in the deck that wants it. So probably a split card right out of the gate here. It's probably like a 1/3.5.
Yeah. It's going to be very strong in the blue-white deck, especially if you get it early and can build around it. We'll see pretty quickly there's a number of just white artifact creatures, so you get a start right there.
All right. Acrobatic Leap, 1 mana for a combat trick. Target creature you control gets +1/+3 and gains flying until end of turn and untap it. I love the untap. Makes it real tricky. Hard to play around 1 mana. It's a solid combat trick. I give it a 2.
Yeah, okay, this is a 2. Any of these tricks that can let you block flyers, whether it be give flying or reach, are pretty good.
Adaptive Gem Guard, 3/3 for 4. It's an artifact gnome. Tap 2 untapped artifacts and or creatures you control. Put a +1/+1 counter on the gnome. Activate only as a sorcery. I love this. This is great for all of your excess treasures or maps or any of the other nonsense that you're making. And also just your small creatures that maybe get bricked mid to late game. You can use these to activate them. I think this is a solid card.
I like this card fits in a different way into almost every white archetype, right? It's an artifact for the white-blue deck. It involves tapping things for the red-white deck. It buffs itself, which is what green-white cares about. I guess it's not at the best in black-white, but it does want you to go wide, which is sort of what black-white's going to want for sacrifice fodder. So
we don't know if the wide will make artifacts, though. We'll have to see how many artifact things they can make.
Artifacts or creatures you can tap.
Oh my god, it does say or creatures. God, I'm so blind today. I am really having a day. Okay. Rating-wise, I don't think it is amazing, but I think it plays well in every white archetype combination, which is hard to do. Usually these kinds of cards really are specific to 1 or 2 color pairs. So I think it's a solid card. It's got to be like, I would say a solid 2 in any deck.
Yeah, I think it's a 2 in any deck. It'll play up in a few of them. But
if they're built to help, take advantage of this.
Yep.
All right, keeping it moving. Attentive Sunscribe, 2 mana for an Gnome 2/2. Whenever Attentive Sunscribe becomes tapped, scry 1. So this works with the other guy, right? You can tap it to pump it and scry, which is pretty neat. Or you can just get in some attacks because this is a bear.
Yeah, creatures like this, it's always nice to have like a risk-free way of tapping them, like Crew was for some creatures in like Kaladesh, where you got a benefit for tapping them and you didn't have to risk them in combat.
I feel like scry is good enough for me, and there's enough build around between the tapping, it being an artifact, for me to give this a 2.5.
Yeah, I like it at 2.5.
All right, Bat Colony, 3 mana for an enchantment. Whenever it enters the battlefield, Whenever it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 black bat creature token with flying for each mana from a cave spent to cast it.
Yeah, so there
are cave lands, I assume.
Yes, there are. I'm going to quickly look. 4, 5, 6,
Whenever
7,
a
8,
cave
9.
enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. So this is going to be like a gates situation.
Yep, there are 13 different caves in the set.
So this
looks like only one of which is rare, I believe.
So this looks like Gates meets, what's that idiot angel bird maker? Wingspan Defender something?
Oh, the from Dominaria United.
Yeah, the really scary WinCon.
Yeah. I forget the name of it, but it made birds for whenever a defender entered the battlefield
it feels like that, but with a Gates vibe.
Yeah, and also in this set, we'll talk about it now, the land slot is either going to be a basic or a cave.
Yeah. And if there's, you said like 9 caves, 13 caves?
13 caves, 2 of which are rare. There's at least a handful of common cycle ones, and then a couple uncommons.
Okay, fair enough. So there's a straight up cave deck, probably.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. We have our first craft card. We've got Clayfired Bricks with an artifact. 2 mana. When it enters the battlefield, search your library for a basic plains card, reveal it, put it into your hand, shuffle, and gain 2 life. So you're getting your mana's worth here. 2 mana, get a plains, gain a little life is fine. And then later in the game, this can sit around for as long as you want, and eventually you get to 7 mana and can exile another artifact either from your field or from your graveyard, and you can flip this into a kiln that says when it enters the battlefield, when kiln enters the battlefield. Yeah. So this does flicker. It does not transform. Create 2 colorless gnome artifact creature tokens, and creatures get +1/+1. So it's a straight up anthem and gives you 2 bodies. That's a solid flip.
Yeah, I mean, you're paying a lot of mana. You're paying 7, but you get a good reward. Not so much for the 2/2/2s, but for everything else getting an anthem.
Yeah. And, white decks are going to want to do that. Orzhov wants to be sacrificing creatures, so you're going to get some extra sacrifice fodder here. And there's a ton of payoffs in anything that wants white.
This also does have some fantastic flavor text. I love the smell of freshly baked gnomes.
Oh, that's so sad. Well, I guess it's not sad because that's what makes them, because they're like clay. Yeah. Okay, yeah. I like that. I thought they were dying. Rating wise, I think this is a fine card. It's a little expensive, but I can see myself wanting to play this in just about any deck. It feels like it's a 2.
There was a saga in, I forget if it was Dominaria United, that was, I guess Dominaria United, that it was like one of the chapters gained some life, another one got you a plains, and it was like actually way better than anyone thought it was going to be.
I was actually thinking it was a 2.5, only because I think I like the plains a little bit more. Yeah. Originally, I was thinking, well, if you can't get a different color, then you feel kind of bad, but I don't think that matters.
Yeah, I like it at 2.5.
Yeah, I think I do too. All right. Cosmium Blast, 2 mana for an instant, deals 4 damage, target attacking or blocking creature. 2 mana for an instant speed spell. This seems pretty solid to me. I think this will be white's premium removal or close to it. So we're looking at a 4.
Yeah, I think so. We've seen this card in a number of sets.
It doesn't say tapped, so it won't get like the cards that want to be tapping and doing tricky stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that's still fine. Usually I'm happy to run a bunch of those in white.
Agreed. I'm always happy to play a couple.
Dauntless Dismantler, 2 mana for a 1/4 human artificer. Artifacts you control enter the battlefield tapped. You can pay XX in white, sacrifice this, destroy each artifact with mana value X. Artifacts your opponents control come into play tapped. So overall seems fine. 2 mana for a 1/4 is okay, and it just has some built-in removal.
Yep, it very cheaply wipes out all their artifact tokens as well, which is nice if they're making gnomes like we just saw, or making just have a bunch of treasures or stuff. It just gets to snap off all those for free.
Treasures, maps, or maybe you just hit like 1 or 2 random, like we saw like 2/2s that were just, bare artifacts. That's fine. I think this is a solid include in any deck. I think this is a 2.5.
Agreed. I think you'll probably might go down a little bit if you're trying to be aggressive because it is just a 1/4, but otherwise, yeah, I like it.
Yeah, probably not so much in the Boros, but very happy to have, any creature that can just built in also crack some stuff. Deconstruction Hammer. We've got an equipment, gets +1/+1 and has tap and pay 3, sacrifice the hammer, destroy target artifact or enchantment, equip 1. For a 1 equip and a 1 cost for a +1/+1, and then it has a built-in, you can sack this to destroy an artifact or enchantment if you need it. I think this is good.
Yeah, this is just a free way to get a disenchant into your deck.
Yeah, it's a disenchant that doesn't sit in your hand and do nothing.
Yeah.
This is fantastic.
I really
I'm
like
on board for this.
Agreed. I think this card's great.
I think I will run this in... I don't think I will cut the first one of this in any white deck. Even if I'm like... I'm trying to think. Well, maybe there's an artifact control Azorius deck that doesn't have enough creatures. But I still think you're probably running this.
Yeah, and that deck has like things that like tap X artifacts for something, and it's still an artifact for that. And, yeah, I think I'm probably running this in any white deck.
Yeah, in the Azorius, maybe you could just craft this away if you don't need it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I think this is a 3 for the first one. They don't stack super well, but I don't think I'm cutting this.
No, it's like you said, I'm rarely playing 2, but I'll almost always play the first one.
All right, Dusk Rose Reliquary, 1 mana for an artifact. As an additional cost to cast the spell, sacrifice an artifact or creature, ward 2. When it enters the battlefield, exile target artifact or creature an opponent controls until this leaves the battlefield. So we've already seen a decent amount of built-in destroy artifact stuff, but this has ward 2, and also it's very cheap, and unlike Glass Casket, it hits things that are much larger.
Yeah. I'm not sure what the downside here is obviously the extra cost, but still you're going to be trading down on cards, but very often way up on mana.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and with the addition of map tokens, it could just be that this is fine.
True. Yeah, you could sacrifice map treasure or something like that.
We'll have to see what is available. And also, you might just want to sacrifice them to descend. Or to descended.
Did.
It's like banana nana. When do you end? You never know. So I think this is fine, but you need a bit of a build around. I think that this is not premium removal, but I still think it's good. So I'm going to give it like a 3.
Yeah, it's another one where I'm almost probably never cutting the first one, but beyond that, you have to have the right sort of build for it.
This is the kind of card I used to rate poorly because I kind of assumed there wasn't a ton of synergy to help make this work. And there just always has been. Like Wizards, the R&D team has been very good about making the draft sets have very little chaff. So every time I see a card, I'm like, this, but what if you don't have artifacts? And then I'm just like, oh, we just have way more artifacts than I expected, so this is fine. So I think these things tend to play better now than they used to.
Yeah, like spells like this, like Bone Splinters, that sort of stuff. I always just remember feeling kind of like you. It's like, these aren't going to be that good. But then when someone plays it on me, I'm like, oh, that sucks.
And they're always
That's
solid.
not good. Yeah, that hurts.
All right. Envoy of Okenek Anu.
Sure. That could be anything. Okenekahau.
Sure.
I don't
3
know.
mana for a 3/3. You can pay 5 for this cat advisor, and it will create a 1/1 colorless gnome artifact creature token. So you just get free artifact tokens. You can just poop them out for as long as you want because this cat is really good at robotics.
I mean, repeated token creation at common is pretty nuts.
And it's already a solid body. A 3/3 for 3 in white is like pretty good already. I'm playing that. So there's no downside here. Very happy. I think this is the 3 for me.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. Fabrication Foundry, 2 mana for an artifact. You can tap it, add a white, spend this mana to cast an artifact spell or activate an ability of an artifact source. You can also pay 3, tap, exile 1 or more other artifacts you control with total mana value X. Return target artifact card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So it allows you to pitch your weaker stuff and bring back onto the field your better stuff. I mean, it's just a mana rock. You have to be so artifact heavy. I don't think I'm into running this.
No, this feels like it's got combo potential and constructed, but I don't see. Because you have to sacrifice things or exile things with mana value X, so sacrificing tokens doesn't do any good. You can get something expensive back, but you've got to sacrifice either an expensive thing there or a lot of cheap things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this is just a constructed card.
Agreed. I'm going to give it a 1.5.
Yep.
I feel like there's a very, very artifact heavy deck with some of the artifact rares that I probably will want this, but
yeah,
it's also a rare.
There's a deck with enough artifacts that wants this just as the artifact mana rock.
Yep. Family Reunion, 2 mana for an instant, choose 1. Creatures you control get +1/+1 till end of turn. I like this already. It's a solid little trumpety blast. And creatures you control gain hexproof until end of turn. This is fantastic.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say. That's kind of nuts.
Yeah,
you get this kind of a split effect.
I'm into this card. It's a very good split, and for 2 mana instant speed, I'm down to pay that for either of these, and the flexibility is just icing. This to me, I'm probably always playing one of these.
Yeah, I probably would, other than maybe if that white-blue deck is really light on creatures. But otherwise, yeah, I'm probably playing it.
Yeah. So for me, this is a 2.5.
Yep, that's where I have it.
Yeah, I really like this one. All right, Get Lost. 2 mana for an instant. Destroy target creature, enchantment, or planeswalker. Its controller creates 2 map tokens, which allows them to explore. So you're probably giving them a land, 1 free draw, land draw, and a +1/+1 counter sort of. 2 mana instant speed, destroy basically anything. I think that's worth it.
Yeah, these cards play better than usual at first, I think. Giving them 2 map tokens, that seems like a lot. But we had Declaration in Stone that gave them a clue, which is better than the map tokens, and that was fine. It's instant speed, it's cheap to kill anything. Yeah, I like this card.
This is white's premium removal. I think I'm pretty happy to call this a 4.
Yeah, I mean, we should expect something like this at rare. So I'll take that as a 4 as well.
Yeah. There was a similar spell to this, 2 mana instant speed, destroy a thing, give them a clue?
Yeah, Declaration in Stone.
Yeah, that was a solid one. Fair, and that saw standard play.
Yep, it did exile, which helps, but still, it didn't hit enchantments either. Or planeswalkers, I don't think. I think it was just creatures.
Great. Locking it in at a 4. Fateful Absence, that's what I was thinking. Thank you.
Okay.
So when you said it, I was just like, is it? But I do remember that one as well, also being very good. But yes, Fateful Absence was the one I was thinking. Okay, so
Yeah.
Glorifier of Suffering. 3 mana for a Vampire Soldier, 3/2. When it enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice another creature or artifact. When you do, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures you control. So that feels good. You can put it on itself, so you don't need a ton of creatures in play for this to work. And we just saw free map tokens, we saw free gnomes, we saw all sorts of token generation that count for this. So I think this is a fine 3-drop.
Yeah, I'm maybe a little lower on this card just because I read like sacrifice. I guess it's another creature too. Sacrifice artifacts. And I'm like, oh, I want to be in white blue, but they don't have a lot of creatures. But I guess you can target as long as you can target itself. You're getting a 4/3.
Yeah, but we just saw like, I think there's going to be a lot more random maps and stuff than we think. Or like the cat that just poops out artifact gnomes.
Well, yeah, that it's obviously great with that card.
Yeah, just in general, I think we're going to see a lot more of the synergy that go along with this. I've learned my lesson. I think there was a transition about 2 years ago where you and I were rating everything way under what it played because the synergy really stepped up its game over the last like 3 or 4 years. And now I think we just kind of underestimate these sometimes. That said, I don't think it's insane. Like, not every deck is going to love this, but I think it will be a 2 in any deck, and I think it can play up to like a 2.5.
Oh, that's, yeah, I agree with that. I do think we do still see at least like one archetype every set that's just like, this didn't work.
Yeah, I agree. That's true. All right, Guardian of the Great Door. White for a 4/4 angel with flying. This better be some downside. As an additional cost to cast this spell, tap 4 untapped artifacts, creatures, and or lands you control. I like that you can just pay 6 for this if you need to, or you can just get it out really, really cheap by casting other things. This feels well-rounded to me. I like that you can do a mix of creatures and lands, so you can like, tap 2 creatures, tap 2 extra lands, pay 4 for this. Overall, seems like a good option. Very good for the go-wides and token generation decks.
Yeah, it's kind of a throwback to Sarah Avenger, which is white for a 3/3 flying vigilance, but you couldn't cast it on turn 1, 2, or 3. Obviously, you can play this sooner than that card if you get the right amount of stuff on there, but it's using that sort of mechanic without having to actually track turn numbers.
Yeah, so very happy with this card. I think I will run it in any white deck, even with low creature counts. I think that's fine. I think this is like a 3.
Yeah, I want to see if we have like some sort of like raise the alarm type effect where you can get 2 bodies for cheap.
Yeah, I don't know if we have that. Like, we haven't seen it yet, but we have seen just a lot of cards that do make bodies, but they weren't cheap. So I agree, but I do think that there will be a lot of little idiots running around.
Yeah, and white generally has weenies running around, so yes, it's pretty good.
Helping Hand. This guy is about to get Mufasa'd. Holy crap. Super Mufasa'd. 1 mana for a sorcery. Return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Where's my young hero roll? No, thank you.
Yeah, these cards just never seem to hit.
So that's what I thought about the last one too, but that young hero roll, mwah, I played that all day. It was so good with bargain. It was so good with everything. I actually think that one was kind of a banger.
That was probably the best version of this effect that we've seen. And look, you might have a deck that, heck, if you have that 3 mana 3/3 that poops out tokens, I'm thrilled to get that back for 1 mana. But you have to have some pretty high value 3 drops or less.
Yeah, I don't think I'm running this. This is like a 1.
Yeah, I think it's a 1, but you will find a couple decks that you might want to play this in every once in a while, but it's 1 out of every 6 or 7 drafts, maybe 6 or 7 white decks.
You have to have multiple premium targets that you want to get with this. Ironpaw Aspirant, 2 mana for a 1/2. When it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. I like that it allows you to mix and match, right? A 2 mana 2/3 is great. Like, that's a fine rate. That's playable. You can just do that. Or you can use the extra mana and the value, put it on something that's a little bit better, something you want to stick around. Sacrifice this off in your Orzhov or your Rakdos splash type thing. You know, if you have Orzhov or the Boros, you're going to have some sacrifice crossover. I think that's a great option. Flexibility is only a good thing.
Yeah, and putting the counter on something is really nice, and green-white buffs matters.
True.
I find it interesting that they did not word this as target creature you control. I wonder if there's some value to ever targeting something else that they have in this set. We'll see. If there's some sort of like phantasmal image type card that just dies whenever it's targeted or something like that.
Yeah, every once in a while too, I have like I definitely have had like a destroyed target creature with power 4 or greater, and I've pumped their stuff with either a counter or a pump spell. It's not great value, but you got to do what you got to do. Yeah, I think this card's really good. I think this is a 2.5. I
think I'm a little lower at like 2, but there are a couple decks that aren't going to want it.
All right. Kinjali's Dawnrunner, 3 mana for a 1/1 with double strike. When it enters the battlefield, it explores. So it's probably a 2/2 with double strike. If not, you're going to get a free card out of it, and I'm willing to pay an additional 2 mana for a free land draw. You know, makes you not, it's basically draw 1, which I like. This card's fine. I think this is a solid 2. It'll be really good in like buffs matter.
Yeah, we've already seen 2 creatures that just can put a counter on this.
Yeah, 2 and 3 mana.
So, you know, that's obviously nice for buff matters, but just anytime you can easily pump double strikers. You know, this comes with a built-in potential counter, and you know, we're halfway through one color and we've already got a few ways to do it. So I think this could definitely have a lot of cards that work with it. Awesome.
All right. Oh, yeah, we said about a half point off there.
Yep.
Cils Flanker, 3 mana for a 3/1 with flash. When it enters the battlefield, choose 1, put a +1/+1 counter on the flanker for each creature that left the battlefield under your control this turn. You can gain 2 and scry 2. You can exile target player's graveyard, which could be relevant actually with the descend. Descend.
Did.
Nope, no did. Just the descend.
And the descent. And fathomless descent.
Yes, and fathomless. So descend and descent.
Descent. Yep. But not descended.
This is the worst. Who let this happen? I hate it. Oh, sorry. I think this is good. This is like a 3.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a decent amount of combat for the first one. Could easily get three counters on this thing. You get a 3 mana like 6/4.
It's very fine. Very good. And it could just be you know, the worst case scenario. It's like a 3 mana flash 4/2 is kind of like worst case.
Yeah, there's so many good options. This could just be 3 mana flash in to trade with like a 4/3 and gain 2 life, scry 2.
Yeah,
which is also fine.
Rating wise, I think it's a 5. It doesn't fly. It doesn't do anything too crazy or impactful. It will play up if you get someone's graveyard who really needs like fathomless descent.
Wait, what do you think it is?
What?
You said you think it's a 5?
No. I said it's a 3.
I heard. I definitely heard 5. That's why I was confused.
No, it's a 3. Okay. It'll play up like a 3/5.
Oh, okay. Maybe it just clicked out on my headset.
Or maybe I just slurred because I'm pretty tired. So yeah, it's a 3.
I like it around the 3.
And then it could play up if you really get somebody with something. I might have misspoke, but and it'll play like a 3/5 against the right opponents.
Yeah, agreed with that.
Malamet Warscribe, 5 mana for a 4/3 Warcat. I like that. When it enters the battlefield, creatures you control get +2/+1 till end of turn. A creature with a built-in Not Trumpet Blast, but the white version of that, which gives you a little booty. I like that. Inspired Charge. I think that's the 1/1. There's one that's 2/1 though. It's minute, but I like it built onto this creature. This is super cool.
Yeah, I tend to hate Inspiring Charge, but if you want to tack it on for free on a 4/3, then sure, I'll take it.
Yeah, these are the cards that Yanks will never play, and these are the cards I will play in 50 to 70% of my decks. Because
I will play this card because it's free.
But you don't play creatures.
Well, that's true.
This isn't going to make the cut in your, Azorius control deck with 2 creatures in it.
It'll let me hit them for 3 with my 1/1 flyer.
So rating wise, I think this is really cool. It will see some very good play. Realistically, it's probably a split, but the split is not important enough for it to be relevant. So I am going to call this a 3.
Yeah, I like it as a 3. It's your Inspiring Charge. It is +2/+1. I double checked it. That's 4 mana. So you're paying 1 to get a 4/3. Sure.
I think that is the second card name I knew from old stuff. I'm very proud of myself. I was not sure, but I'll still give myself credit.
Oh yeah, you got it right.
So let's go ahead and move on to Market Gnome, 1 mana for an 0/3. It's an artifact. It says when it dies, you gain a life and draw a card. When Market Gnome is exiled from the battlefield, while you're activating a craft ability, you gain a life and draw a card. So it just ensures that you get that ability, which is cool.
Yes.
So it is premium for your crafting. It's premium for your tap creatures, tap artifacts kind of mechanics. You can chump it off against aggressive decks and bring it back with a lot of artifact type synergy that we've seen. It really does want to manipulate artifacts in and out of the graveyard. This seems fine as an enabler, but not every deck is going to want this.
Yeah, it's filling the role, albeit probably a slightly worse card, as your Hopeless Nightmare and your blanking on the one that made a 2/2 Knight in the last set. Hopeful Vigil.
Yeah. This is no Hopeful Vigil, but I do think it is solid.
No, but it's there to feed another mechanic.
A particular mechanic.
Yep, and at least in this case, you are you can also just use it as a blocker.
It's also a fine sideboard card against aggressive decks. Let's say you're nowhere near caring about your artifact count, but you're just you have a bajillion bears and they pump each other. Gaining a life, absorbing 5 damage, and then drawing a card is enough to brick some of those decks.
Yep.
So I think it's a well-rounded card. I think it's actually kind of a split card. It's a 1/2. That's not great, so I'm just going to call it a 1.5. Some decks will want this, but most of them won't.
I'm a little higher on this. I think I'm just having it as a 2 flat.
Yeah, I also decided to... Oh, no, I went 1.5. Never mind. I did not say 2. Okay, still pretty close, though. Might of the Ancestors, a 3 mana enchantment. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature you control gets +2/+0 and gains Vigilance until end of turn. This doesn't do enough.
No, I mean, this is in there just for the green-white buff deck, right?
I will have to see what buffs they get for being buffed for me to care about this card.
Yeah. Oh, agreed. I don't think this card is probably even good enough in that deck. We've seen enough just counters going around that you can do that even better than with this. So this is just too low impact.
Okay, cool. Rating wise, I don't like this. There might be a deck that wants it, but I think it's not worth discussing here. I'm going to call it a 1.
Yeah, I think it's a 1 with the a 2 upside maybe in that deck.
Is there a weird Azorius Flyers deck that just likes this?
Maybe, but that deck doesn't want to spend a card on this usually.
Miner's Guidewing. We have a 1/1 for 1 with flying and vigilance. Speak of the devil. Whenever it dies, target creature you control explores. That's some great extra value. And honestly, 1 mana 1/1s tend to be way better than we think that fly.
Yes.
Bird Jesus was just game ending. The 1/1 flyer for 1 with lifelink. Yep. That thing, oof. Big oofs.
Yeah, and we're seeing lots of ways to pump things, so.
Yeah. And with like buff matters, they're pretty happy. So I think this card's going to be very playable. I think it's a 2.
Yep, I think it's a 2 as well.
Mischievous Pup. 3 mana for a 3/1 with flash. When it enters the battlefield, return up to 1 other target permanent you control to its owner's hand. So it's like anti-removal or aura removal. Yeah, I like these cards. I am a big fan of having those sort of reverse combat tricks to help protect your stuff. So I think this is a good card. I'm probably playing one of these in most decks. I'd say this is a 2.
Yeah. Protects you from removal, like you said. Also lets you reuse any good ETB effects you really want to reuse.
Also, you could trade up with the flash blocks here.
Yep. Plus, it's a cute dog.
Doggy. Okay, moving on. Ogier Tack Deepest Foundation? Talk? Sure. 6 mana for a 6/6 god with Vigilance. If 1 or more creature tokens would be created under your control, 3 times that many tokens are created instead. When this dies, return it to the battlefield tapped and transformed under its owner's control. And it comes back into play transformed as the Temple of Civilization. It can tap for a white. It can also pay 3, tap Transform Temple, activate only if you attacked with 3 or more creatures this turn and as a sorcery. That is pretty dope.
Yeah, I believe there's a whole cycle of these gods, the Ogiers, that all turn into lands, and then you can turn them back if you meet some sort of criteria.
And it's like a 6/6 for 6 that does a bunch of stuff. It's got a keyword. This card is very good. And unlike a lot of mythics like this that don't have a huge impact the turn they come into play, we can't give them a 5 because if they get removed, they're just dead. But this one is not. This just ramps you and then keeps doing more stuff. And I don't think white's going to have any trouble activating the second Temple of Civilization ability.
Yeah, I don't know why, for some reason, this card is like underwhelming me, because I know it's good. Maybe it's just because that first ability feels just like...
The first ability may or may not come into play, but I think a 6 mana 6/6 with Vigilance, assuming you can keep bringing him back, is strong on its own.
Yeah, I think it's good. I know it's good. I'm just for some reason not like excited about it.
I think if you have tokens, this is a 5. If you don't have tokens, it's still a 4. I mean, if left to do its thing, it will win the game.
Yeah, I think. Well, I agree with you on the token part. It's still 5. It's probably, I like it as a 4, although I'd like to see how much exiling there is in the set.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it's obviously very good. It's a 6 mana mythic. It's going to be good. Just how good.
All right. Old Tech Archeologist. 5 mana for a 4/4 human Artificer Scout. When it enters the battlefield, choose 1. Return target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand, like the O3 Idiot or better. And you can also scry 3 if you want it. I think this is fine. This is really good value. I don't mind 5 mana for a 4/4 that gives me card value.
I mean, if this card said 5 mana 4/4 draw card, everyone would be thrilled. Scry 3 is pretty much as good as draw card.
I think that's true. And
usually I know a lot of people equate Scry 2 approximately to drawing a card. Obviously it's different. And sometimes you do draw a card in returning an artifact.
Yeah. And yeah, the artifact, even decks that don't care about artifacts will still have some artifacts, I think, that you'll be able to get back. It might just be like a random 3/3 for 3, but it'll be something. So I think this card is pretty fantastic as far as like that top end mid range. The 5-drop slots haven't been as crowded as they used to be because cards are just better these days. So I think that there's going to be room for this. I think it's a 2.5.
I think it is as well. I think the usual is let's just see how crowded the top end of your curve is, but this looks good.
Old Tech Cloud Guard, 4 mana for a 3/2 flyer. That's the old rate that we used to see. When it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 colorless gnome artifact creature token.
There's the extra point of power and toughness.
Yeah, so it comes into play as a 4/3 power, and it splits that power, which I actually like because it's going to help with your crafting. It's going to help with your Orzoffing. It's going to help with all sorts of things. The artifacts that want you to tap extra permanents. There are a ton of reasons why this is so much better as a split body than it is a 4/3.
Yeah, I think I'm a little split on that because most of the time I agree with you. Splitting it to 2 is better. But when you're taking the power and toughness away from a flyer and just putting it on a 1/1 body, it's probably not going to do anything I don't love. But you're right. There are some synergies in this set.
I think if it was like a 1/1 not artifact, I would be less happy with it. But I feel like this has the synergy to balance that out.
It very well might. I think it's going to depend on your build, which you would be happier with. But either way, you're going to be happy enough with this card.
Rating wise, I think we're playing this no matter what. I think this is like a 3. Yep.
I think I'm at a 2/5, but I'm still playing it playing it every time.
Yeah. Okay, we have the Otaclan Landmark. We have a 1-mana artifact. When it enters the battlefield, scry 2. You can also pay 3 to craft that little 1/1 that we got for free, and it will turn into a 1/4 flyer when it attacks target attacking creature without flying gains flying. That's a cool ability. I love built-in leap creatures. This one takes a little extra for you to get there, but not a ton extra. I wish the creature was a little bit better for what the hoops you have to jump through here. But the fact that you can craft with things in your graveyard makes me way happier with this. You have to be able to flip it though, right? And you might not be able to flip it when you want to flip it, so I think it's a 2/5.
You have to be able to flip it or have use for just the artifact in other ways, whether it to be to flip something else or for some of the other cards we've seen that care about tapping artifacts. So, that being said, 2.5 is about right.
All right, moving on. Petrify.
I can't believe this isn't a card name already.
Same. 2 mana for an aura, enchant creature. Enchant permanent can't attack or block, and its activated abilities can't be activated. Why did we make the exact same card with a new name and waste such a good name?
As opposed, what was the previous one?
Isn't this 2 mana, can't attack, block, or activated abilities just a thing already?
I feel like it might be, but it might not have enchanted artifacts.
Oh, I didn't notice that difference. You're right. I think you're 100%
I'm not sure.
right.
I'd have to check. Arrest is 3 mana, so that's non-land permanent, I believe.
I think there is 1 for 2, but I think you're right. The difference is that it does not do artifacts. So that's fine. And I like that they added it for a flavor, set, because this set does matter. So yeah, this is white's premium removal. This is going to be a 4.
Yep. Be a 4.
Quicksand Whirlpool, 6 mana for an instant. Costs 3 less to cast if the target is tapped. It's instant speed, important to note, and it does exile, which is really important with god cycles. So I think that this is going to be get a nice boost. It's a little on the pricey side, but chances are at instant speed you want to use it when they're attacking you anyway. So I'm happy to call this a 4.
Yeah, anytime you can basically have unconditional exile, I'm happy with it.
Yeah, 6 is a lot. We're pretty unhappy with that, but 3 is not enough for the spell. So you're going to average those out, and I think it will be very good.
Agreed.
Resplendent Angel. Is this a reprint?
This is.
No, I just spent $35 on one of these.
Oh, really?
No, I just bought this card. Shit. Damn it. All right, fine. 3 mana for a 3/3 flyer. At the beginning of each end step, if you gain 5 or more life, create a 4/4 angel creature token with flying and vigilance. And you can also pay a bajillion mana to give it +2/+2 and lifelink, which will activate it itself on the end step. That's fine. I think this card's very good. It is a self-win condition. It is only a 4.5 because it's easy to remove and you need a turn or 2 to get it going. So if they just shock with bargain this thing away, that's obviously not a thing. But then this just does nothing, and then and you don't win. So there's no lasting effect unless you have life gain prior to putting this onto the board. So I think it's a 3.5.
Yeah, and I just, at least in white, there's a couple things that gain like 1 life or 2 life, but it's gonna be pretty hard to trigger this in this set, other than through its own activated ability.
Yep. So 3.5 you like?
3.5, yep.
Ruin Lurker Bat, 1 mana for a 1/1 flying with lifelinker. Bird Jesus. At beginning of your end step, if you descended, scry 1. So Bird Jesus just on steroids?
Yep.
It seems great.
This card's great. We've seen plenty of ways to pump these things, and you don't even really need to.
Is this just a
Make
3?
this card good. I think it's a 3, yeah.
All right. Sanguine Evangelist, 3 mana for a 2/1 with Battle Cry. So it's a attacking lord. And when it enters the battlefield or dies, create a 1/1 black bat creature token with flying.
They really put this ability in this set just for the pun, right?
What?
It's Battle Cry, and it makes bats.
I don't think that's a pun.
I feel like that's the only reason there is exactly 1 card with this set, with Battle Cry.
I don't think that is true. I refuse to give battle and bat the same roster here. Now, if they had made it called Bat Cry or like Echolocation or something, then I would say that'd be pretty dope. But no, pun rejected. You do not pass go. You do not collect $200. Chat, do not encourage him. Stop it, all of you. I see you.
I might not get $200, but I do get +1/+0.
You don't attack. You don't play creatures. Get out of here.
That's a good point.
This card is solid. I like it. Does the problem is it doesn't attack well.
Yes.
It has nothing that protects it. It's got no ass. It's got no ward. It's got no anything. It doesn't fly. So it's gonna pump your team, but only the 1 time. So it's got to be a bit of an alpha. So I'm not like in love here, but I think it's good. I'm going to say that this is like, because it makes 2 bats in the grand scheme of things, I'm willing to give this a 3.5.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? You don't care too much if you get 1 attack with the Battle Cry bonus, but you've gotten 3 or 4 points of extra damage and 2 1/1 flyers for 3 mana, and maybe traded, or maybe it just got eaten. Either way, I'm still fine with this card.
But that is not a 4, and it is it feels a little underwhelming for a rare.
Agreed.
With the only rare with this ability, I wanted it to shine a little more.
But I'm going to give it a 4 for the pun.
It is not. Oh my god. Soaring Sandwing, 6 mana for a 3/5 flying dinosaur. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life, and plane cycling. I love plane cycling. I think that is a wonderful mechanic. It helps make more games of Magic fun and less just shutouts of land screw and sadness. So I think these are great cards. I'm always happy to play these. I think they're always 3s or better.
Agreed. I'm very happy that they put it back at 2 mana and not at 1, because I really dislike what that did to some older formats.
Fair.
But
not relevant for this, but
fair. Agreed. I mean, the plane cycling 2 is still good. So in limited, yeah, big body, some life gain, which hasn't really mattered other than Resplendent Angel, but it's free life. I'm okay with this card.
So you like it at a 3?
Yeah. I mean, just for its power and toughness, we should give it a 3/5, right?
Oh my god, Yanks, we have 9 minutes.
It's a 3.
All right. Oh no, something happened. My things are backwards. Blade Wheel Chariot is the backside of something, but it's not the thing we're about to talk about. So we will come back to that. Thousand Moon Crackshot, 2 mana for a 2/2. When it attacks, you may pay 3. When you do, tap target creature. It's a bear that then locks down their stuff. I'm in for this. This is great. I'm probably playing 1 of this in every deck.
Yeah, it's an expensive ability, but you get it for free on the bear, and there are cards that care about things being tapped, so.
Yeah, not every deck will care about the tapped ability, so I'm still playing it.
Yeah.
In the aggressive-y decks, I feel like this is a solid, 3. All the decks are going to want that. But in some decks, we don't really care about this, and it's just a bear with a little upside, so I think it's like a 2.5.
I've got a 2.5 as well.
Thousand Moon Infantry, 3 mana for a 2/4 human soldier. Untap Thousand Moon Infantry during each player's untap step. Oh, it's interesting. And it's only 3 mana for a 2/4? With essentially Vigilance?
Yeah, and in this set, better than Vigilance because you can,
tap it for abilities.
Yeah, Vigilance would let you attack and tap it. So I guess it's just different, not better.
That is interesting, though. So that's very cool. I think that this is a neat card. I'm excited for this. It's a great rate for the creature that you're getting. So overall, I feel like this is solid. Probably a 2/5?
Yeah, I like this as a 2/5. It's an interesting design for this set.
Okay, is this the backside of the card we needed? No.
Nope.
Okay. Thousand Moon Smithy. 4 mana for a legendary artifact. When it enters the battlefield, create a white Gnome Soldier artifact creature token. With this creature's power and toughness are equal to the number of artifacts and or creatures you control. Okay, I'm into that. I like this go wide white bit, so I feel like that'll be a solid body. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, you may tap 5 untapped artifact or creatures you control. If you do, you get to transform this into the Barracks of the Thousand. It taps for a white. Whenever you cast an artifact or creature spell using mana produced with this, create a white Gnome Soldier artifact creature token. That creature's power and toughness are equal to the thing. So it makes 1. And then if you can tap 5 untapped artifacts and or creatures, you can poop them out every time you cast an artifact or creature with this spell, with this mana.
With this mana, yep.
Which seems busted as hell.
Yeah, I mean, that's an absurd ability.
And it's not a creature, so it doesn't get removed super easily. They have to have artifact removal for this.
Which admittedly, most people will be main decking in this set, I think.
But it'll still be less than like decks that have 5 pieces of removal, right? They're not going to have 5 pieces of artifact removal.
Yep, it can tap itself and the gnome it makes, so you need 3 other. You can't do it at the turn you play it because it's at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase.
Yeah.
So the turn after you cast this, you would need 3 other things.
At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, you may tap 5 untapped artifacts. So you just need 3 more. This card is great.
Yeah.
I love this card. It's a little slow, but it's going to win you the game.
Yeah. Yes, 100%. This card is great.
This is a 4.5.
Yep.
Excellent. All right. Tinker's Tote, an artifact for 3 mana. When it enters the battlefield, create 2 colorless gnome artifacts. There's your little raise the alarm that you were looking for.
Yep.
1 mana, sacrifice the tote, gain 3 life. I feel like I'm more likely to want to craft this away than just gain 3 life, but I like the option.
This is probably more like Hopeful Vigil than the other card, because you get a body. It has its own way to sacrifice if you can't sacrifice it, and you've either just flipped your smithy or you've got 3 things to craft away, potentially.
Yeah, I like the crafting. I like that the 2 artifact gnomes help with the tapping stuff for all of those tap mechanics. It's going to help with the Orzhov sacrifice mechanic. This card is doing all of the things I want my white cards to be doing here in this format. So I think this is a great card that's going to work in a ton of different decks.
Yeah, it's pretty low power level, but it just enables everything.
I think it's a 3.
I've got it as a 3 as well.
All right. Unstableglyph Bridge, 5 mana for a lot of words. When it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, for each player, choose a creature with power 2 or less that player controls. Then destroy all creatures except the creatures chosen this way. You can also pay 5 more and craft it, and you end up with a 5/3 flying golem. Whenever an opponent casts a spell during their turn, they can't attack you or planeswalkers you control this turn. So no haste creatures, no combat tricks, or I guess sorcery speed ones, but you know what I mean. Each opponent who attacked you or a planeswalker you control this turn can't cast spells. So they can choose. They have to, That's cute. So they can't cast pre-combat spells because they can't attack you. If they attack you, they can't cast post-combat spells. So neat. That is an interesting choice. Plus, it's just a 5-powered flying beater.
Yeah, it's anytime you're giving the choice of things to your opponent, that's always a little worse than it looks, but they don't have a good choice here.
Agreed. I think this is a solid card. I like both sides of this.
Yeah, it blows up everything if all they have are big things. And okay, you leave a small thing behind, that's fine.
Yeah, overall, I mean, I don't see anything I don't like about both of these things. 5 mana board clear in everything, backside of this in. This is a solid. Honestly, this is a 4.5.
Yeah, because I would give the board wrath on its own probably a 4.
Exactly
then,
my thought. You got me exact.
Yep, and then you get the bonus. I mean, it is, the 5/3. It's relatively easy to kill, but you've gotten it for free, basically.
Yeah. All right, we are on the same page. A Vanguard of the Rose. 2 mana for a 3/1, pay 1, sacrifice another creature or artifact. Vanguard of the Rose gains indestructible until end of turn, tap it. Another creature or artifact. I like this. These play better than they feel because you can like sack your maps, you can sack your 1/1 golems, and attacking every turn with a threat of activation 3 powered creature that's indestructible is actually real scary.
Yeah, the fact that it includes the word tap it doesn't mean it has to be untapped when you activate the ability. So
Correct.
It's very good when attacking.
And blocking. Like, I think this is a well-rounded creature because there's so many little 1/1 golems. I don't see this as a problem at all. I think
although that kind of works both ways. There's a lot of 1/1 golems to block this thing. Okay, they can sacrifice something indestructible, but I'm generally okay with them doing that to take out my gnome.
Yeah, so if you're up against the mirror match where they have 1/1 golems, it bricks this. But there are a ton of other archetypes out there where they're not going to be making those 1/1 golems, right?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen what other sets or what other with craft being around, I'm guessing there might be a lot of tokens in other colors as well.
With these abilities, there's always 2 decks where it's like, oh, this is the perfect pairing. I make 1 once, this thing loses its power, and then it's like, oh, there's the 8 other archetypes where this is good. So I'm happy to just call that what it is. Sometimes you just get the mirror match or the rock to your paper or whatever, rock to your scissors. That one.
Yes.
So what was your rating on this?
This is like a 2/5.
All right, I'm a little higher. I think it's a 3.
Yep.
Warden of the Inner Sky, 1 mana for a 1/2 human soldier. Whew, it's got a lot of text. As long as Warden of the Inner Sky has 3 or more counters on it, it has flying and vigilance. Tap 3 untapped artifacts and or creatures you control. Put a counter on this as a sorcery and scry 1. That seems really good.
Yeah. It's a slow build to make this pretty big, but I guess
we saw
once you get the 3.
a 2-drop and a 3-drop that just come into play, put counters on stuff.
True.
So like,
that will definitely help.
Yeah, and those were commons. I think this is very good. And with all the little gnomes running around and the extra artifacts, there's the 1-drop artifact equipment that we both agreed we would run at common.
Yeah, that card's good.
So like, I don't think that we're going to have a hard time tapping those permanents to make this thing a huge flyer. And it doesn't say that you can't put more than 3 counters on it.
Yeah, you can keep making it bigger.
Mm-hmm. So once you do, they're donezo. All right, Yanks, what do you think of, what was your rating on this?
I think I've got that as a 3.
Okay, I think I'm a little higher on it. I think I'm like a 3.5. This seems really good to me. Overall, what do you think of white?
White seems like it's got a lot of good cards. I'm wondering, and this is just probably a thing you learn through deck building and playing, if you get all these payoffs for tapping things, do you end up with too many payoffs and you can only use one of them a turn and they don't actually synergize? Or do you spend too much time building something and not actually being aggressive like you might want to be? But I think that's just something you learn over the course of the format.
Yeah. I think that it will be interesting, sort of like Convoke and like Standard. It's hard to know when to keep your foot on the gas and when to tap your permanents to do a thing when you were the aggressor, and that is slowly starting to change, which I think is going to make gameplay really interesting. And I think white is where we'll see most of that. All right, I think that's it for white, guys. For those of you who are on YouTube channel, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and most importantly, don't forget to check out our introduction to Ixalan if you missed it. We go over all of those mechanics and everything you need to know before drafting this set. Thanks again for watching, guys. Yanks, thanks for joining us.
Happy to do it.
All right, we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.